A landlord in New York is asking for immediate help for 17 months of unpaid rent. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an article for you today, and it's going to go over just how bad it is for one landlord who has lost 17 months of rent since this whole pandemic eviction moratorium has began. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and I'll work to keep bringing you great articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So, this article comes from dailygazette.com, and it says, landlord advocates continue to push for immediate help with unpaid rent during the pandemic. Yeah, I have just been out there and I've been telling everyone, hey, landlords, small landlords, they need assistance, okay? There's a lot of them who haven't been able to get paid in a long time. And 17 months, I mean, that's insane. Nobody has the emergency reserves to last 17 months with a tenant who's not paying any rent. Okay, so if we're not getting rental assistance, then we need to be able to evict. It's just that simple, okay? So let's get into this article, see what it says. A tenant in his four-bedroom house, Half Moon. Local landlord Joseph Tronco had a date for an eviction hearing set for March 2020. A tenant in his four-bedroom house had stopped paying rent. Tronco said at Half Moon Town Hall Wednesday during the event that called attention to the plight of struggling landlords during the pandemic. But then the pandemic and eviction moratorium hit. The tenant told the court she had been affected financially by the pandemic. Fast forward more than a year, and Tronco said he's now owed 17 months rent, which he said he had lowered from $2,350 a month to $1,950 a month because of his tenant's financial hardships. Yeah, so this is the kind of situation that I'm talking about that's happening to small landlords throughout the country. Now, this landlord took the opportunity to go ahead and lower the rent by, it looks like $400 a month, okay? And just to try to give that the tenant an opportunity to stay in the unit and hopefully still be able to pay the rent. But it looks like it didn't happen. And so now we're talking about 17 months later and this tenant hasn't paid anything. So you do the math. $2,000 a month times 17 months. This landlord is owed $34,000 or almost $34,000. And that is an insane amount of money. Meanwhile, he's still paying his taxes, his property taxes on that house. He's still paying for his insurance. He's still doing repairs on the house when the tenant calls him. You know, he's still got to pay that mortgage payment perhaps. You know, I mean, this never ends. The bills never end for a landlord. A property owner has to keep paying for all these things in order to keep their property up. And people don't realize that. So when we don't get the rental assistance, we are put in dire straits, okay? Making matters worse, the landlord of 35 years said he and the tenant are no longer speaking. The property's water bill has grown out of control. Tronco, who said the tenant has countered with a harassment claim, said he showed up at his rental house one day and a man he didn't recognize asked what he was doing there. "What am I doing here?" he told a reporter, incredulous. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going into another problem right there. Looks like the tenant isn't paying the water bill either. So if you don't pay the water bill for the tenant, sometimes some municipalities could actually put a lien on the house. Or they can even go as far as seizing the house, okay? I mean, this becomes a huge issue. And yeah, I understand that the tenant is in a bad financial situation, but why are we putting all of this onto the landlord? Okay, we didn't buy property so that we could put up the poor and the homeless into our properties for free. No, we bought those properties as part of our businesses in order to make money. And I know people don't like hearing that we make money off of renting houses, but it's the truth. That's why we do it. If there was no incentive for us to do it, we wouldn't do it. And then the only opportunity for housing would be, you know, either people buy it themselves or the government provides it. And you can see how the government runs things, okay? Tronco's plight has drawn the attention of two Republican state legislators who advocate for landlords who are suffering from what they said were the serious unintended consequences of the eviction moratorium. Senators Daphne Jordan And Jim Tedisco expressed concerns about the $2.7 billion federal relief program that intends to help income-eligible tenants who fell behind on rent because of the pandemic. Tedisco said bureaucracy prevented the money from getting out fast enough to tenants and landlords. Exactly. Okay? I've gone over it many times now, and it's a well-known fact that the bureaucracy is really what's holding up the money from getting paid to the landlords from the rental assistance programs. Okay? So that's the real thing. You have to really pay attention to the fact that, yeah, sometimes you have landlords and tenants who both are working to get the rental assistance, but the government itself is the one who are holding everything up. But this article kind of goes into the reason this bureaucracy is holding things up, and it's kind of interesting, really, because a lot of people wouldn't even consider some of these factors. Jordan questioned whether small landlords would ever be repaid for lost income during the pandemic. She said the state and federal government continue to kick the can, unpaid rent, down the road. The application process for the Federal Emergency Rental Assistance Program that is administered by the state began June 1st. But Jordan said it's delivered almost no assistance to struggling landlords and small businesses. Yeah. Come on, get off your butts, get the money to the landlords. That's all I can say. There's not much more to say. But yeah, if they don't get this assistance to these landlords ASAP, you know what's going to happen. Landlords are going to start selling those properties, and those tenants are going to be out anyway. So yeah, they really need to jump on it. Jordan wrote to Governor Andrew Cuomo earlier this month, urging his administration to take immediate action to address what she said were significant and systemic shortcomings with the program. The rental assistance program requires active tenant cooperation for the landlord to receive money he's rightfully owed, Jordan said. The process requires documents from both entities. Landlord-tenant relations can be strained, as in Tronco's case, and at times, tenants who are in arrears have already moved out and didn't leave contact information, Jordan said. Yeah, so now, here's another issue, okay? So I don't know if I brought this up before. So what happens if, after 12 months of the eviction moratorium and everything going on, the tenant finally just leaves? And, they still owe you all of that money for those 12 months they've been gone. So the landlord wants to apply for the rental assistance program. That tenant doesn't want anything to do with the landlord, so they're not going to help the landlord get that money. So they're not going to fill out any sort of application for a landlord in a place where they used to live. Why would they? So yeah, the landlord's just screwed out of that 12 months. No, the states really need to put it into place where the landlords can apply for the rental assistance without the tenant's help, okay? The landlords have all the documentation necessary. They have signed lease agreements. They have proof of, what they are owed. Most landlords have good accounting and it's easy to prove. But no, instead they're focusing so much efforts and attention onto the tenants that the landlords end up getting screwed over and getting nothing. Not only that, but as it says in the article, let me read this next paragraph. It says, secondly, ERAP targets low-income tenants, excluding many landlords, Jordan said. The fund provides relief to tenants whose income are at or below 80% of the area median income, and tenants may find out during the application process that they don't qualify, Jordan said. Okay, so that's a huge issue right there. If you have tenants who make more than 80% of the median income for the area, guess what? They don't qualify for rental assistance, and you, as a landlord, are screwed, okay? You don't get anything except for to pay that tenant's bills, and you can't evict them on top of that. So, yeah, is this fair? This doesn't sound fair to me. I mean, come on. But, the reason that they put these eviction moratoriums into place was to help the landlords who were not getting paid by tenants who were unemployed because of the coronavirus pandemic and restrictions and lockdowns. So why would it matter what their income was? If they lost their jobs during the pandemic or they lost part of their income, then it should be a no-brainer that, yeah, they qualify for rental assistance. Regardless if you made $200,000 and you lost your whole income, it doesn't matter. The only thing that should matter is that they're unable to pay their rent. So that money should be directed straight to the landlords because they can't evict the tenant. Also, the relief is for up to 12 months, with the potential for an additional 3 months. Landlords like Tronco, who are owed money for the entirety of the pandemic, can't be repaid in full, Jordan said. Yeah, he's owed 17 months of back rent. Well, the relief is only for 12 months plus 3 months, so 15 months max. So he's already out thousands of dollars, and there's no way he could ever get it back, even if his tenant was cooperating. Another hindrance to landlords' inability to recoup their total losses is that ERAP doesn't include late fees, Jordan said. The end result is that landlords are essentially denied the financial relief they deserve and were promised by the state, Jordan said. To potentially bring help to small landlords, Tedisco co-authored a Senate bill that would establish a rental assistance loan-to-grant program. Yeah, so that's the kind of program. It's kind of similar, I believe, to the PPP loans they were putting out before, where they would loan money, to cover up the losses for the businesses that weren't able to make any money because of all the government shutdowns. So in the case of the landlords, they would loan money to the landlords, right? But then just forgive the loans, so the landlords didn't end up owing anything, and they'd be able to recover all of their losses. And that's an interesting program. I'm kind of wary of whether they will actually forgive those loans or not. I mean, it's a good idea. It's better than nothing, and it would at least help some small landlords survive. But man, a loan isn't exactly the best situation in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, good article. It goes on a little bit more, but I think that's pretty much the gist of it. There's a lot of reasons why the rental assistance isn't helping landlords become whole again, okay? And there are a lot of situations where landlords won't even qualify for rental assistance, yet they still can't evict the tenants from their units. So it would just be better if we just ended the eviction moratorium. And yeah, they should continue the rental assistance program, because at least some landlords would be able to be made whole. But for those who can't, they'd be able to get rid of those non-paying tenants.